hopefully she's gonna run. Okay, so that's what I usually say when I start these things. All right, so I'm out here in front of the farm here, and I want to talk about these soybeans real quick. Yes, my soybeans, I'm gonna talk about them because they need to be talked about. As you can see, they're about thigh high now, and it is bone ass dry. Bone ass dry. I mean super dry, like super duper dry. And I don't want to run them over or step on them just because I just don't want to do that. You can see that they are mid-thigh now. They were at knee-high. These were the knee-high ones on the 4th of July. I came through here and sprayed secret sauce on them to conserve moisture because of the aphids and the spider mites that were in here. Aphids and spider mites go for the veins of the plant in which they eat them. They tap into that. They tap into that to suck the moisture out of it so that, well, that's where they get their food source. The secret sauce will prevent them from doing that because it causes them to bloat and then die. They'll explode. They pop. You can see some of the remnants of that right there. The nice thing about the secret sauce is it actually does kind of prevent the beans from doesn't prevent them from expelling moisture, but it slows that process down because the spider mites and the aphids die. With them being dead, now we do have Japanese beetles. You can see them feeding on here. They're something that needs to go. But if you look at these soybeans right now, you see how the leaves are pointed straight up in the air like that? That is a self-defense mechanism. You can see the secret sauce on the back side of that plant too. It's a self-defense mechanism that to prevent too much moisture from escaping from the plant and allowing the plant to wilt. You don't want them to wilt. A little bit of stress in soybeans is okay. It ain't great, but it's okay. And you can see out there these areas where the leaves are completely flipped over. Those are beans that are in distress. You see there's a spot there and a spot there. Those are traditionally wet spots in this field. And because they're wet spots, the root systems don't go deep for water. They stay rather shallow. And then when the wet spots dry up in drought times like we're in right now, you will have those areas will actually stop growing. They'll just go into conservation mode. They will flip completely over to minimize the amount of water that is being expelled or evaporated through the leaves. And that's how this works. Photosynthesis, the nutrients are carried up through the plant by the water that is in the soil. And as the water evaporates out of the leaves, it pulls more and more water up from below, carrying nutrients and all those other things along with it. I foliar fed these with secret sauce and the liquid potassium and the other mineral that I use that seems to keep the deer off. You can see that there is no deer damage here because the deer would have gone up and down these rows, chewing it off and causing a major problem. We do need water really bad, really bad, because I'm at the point now that I can dig quite deep. We're talking inches deep and not get water. So these beans they're surviving. They're in survival mode. Tonight when the sun goes down, the leaves will flip back over and they will just continue to, they'll flip back over and expose the green side. You see how they're like folded over like that? That is to prevent too much moisture from coming out of those plants. It's kind of neat to see them do it. Not ideal, but it is putting a stress on the plant. And of course, when we do finally get rain, these beans are going to go into an explosive growth. Not only will they be putting on more pods, there are pods on these plants. You can see them down here, but these nodes are in the branches, all these spots where they flowered. They're in conservation mode, so they're not even putting on new pods right now, but they'll grow. These things will grow another foot, at least another foot tall, and then they will actually branch out over one another if everything goes right. But if everything goes bad, like we don't get any more rain for the season, which could be happening, this will be a complete and total crop loss. Same thing with the corn. Corn's looking like a pineapple field. I don't like pineapples. Tired of pineapple fields. I like cornfields. Not all the cornfields look like that, but they're getting that way. So, as far as these soybeans right now, they are forecasting rain for Saturday. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. We were supposed to get rain last night. That did not happen. So, me and Teresa are really just focusing on making hay. I'm dealing with... See if we can get this thing to record. Okay, so we're going to walk out in here a little ways. Uh-oh, got some grasses coming up in that wide spot. All right, so this is where I planted through the hay, the standing hay. Yes, the standing hay. There is some grass that does not seem to want to die no matter what I do to it, but that's just life. All right, so you look out across there and it looks like a damn pineapple field, right? And it is a damn pineapple. No, it's corn. So what corn does, corn is kind of like soybeans, but corn will curl like this. You see how that corn is curling? It is curling up to conserve moisture. It's putting energy down into the roots, though. From all this sunlight, it is just putting energy down into the roots. There's somebody, they don't even see me out in this field. It's putting energy down into the roots to go for water. And when we do finally get rain, and this is normal for no-till situations, you'll have wavy fields until everything catches up. But things you don't want to see happen to a cornfield when it's dry like this is right here at the tips. If the tips of these leaves start to turn brown, you've pretty much lost the fight. It's going to die, or it's going to severely impact your ability to grow, or you severely impact the ability to produce a crop. I can't believe that fucking grass, excuse my French. So the first thing that'll happen when you do get into super drought situations, and it does look dismal. This corn is actually pretty good. I'm quite pleased with the way it looks, other than that stinking grass that's down there. And that grass is probably dead, it just doesn't know it yet. And it is. If you could see the base of that grass, it's rotten. It's rotted off, it's just staying green. So what'll happen is the lower leaves will start to yellow. The tips of the lower leaves, but there's still enough moisture here to keep this corn up and running. Now there is a couple of spots out there where it was very wet, and that's out there, you can see it. Those lower leaves will be dying back, and that's just to preserve the main part of the plant, because this plant's whole job is to produce an ear. Now, if it continues to be dry for any super long amount of time, these stalks will limit the height. Now, I've seen 6-foot stalks with gigantic ears that are way the hell down here, and you got to run the header with the snoots dragging on the ground. I've seen that in the past. I've done it. Generally happens when you go through huge dry spells. Well, we're in a pretty good dry spell. We're about 3 weeks without any decent rain, and I think the last rain that we had that was decent was only half an inch. We had 0.2 of an inch, which was a waste of time anyway. But for the most part, this corn is okay. It's not dying. It is in self-defense mode. It's in protection mode. It is going to survive. It is going to live to fight another day. And this is what makes people really freaked out, right? So this corn is curled up like this. Come tonight, this will all unfurl, and the moisture will come up from below and fill that all back out, filling the leaves with the nutrients that it needs to sustain the life of the plant. What these curling leaves really means, if you don't know, is that there is more water evaporating off of the leaves than the roots can pull up from the ground to replace that water. That's why it wilts and curls. The plant curls to conserve moisture so that it doesn't go like, to death row. It isn't going to kill it. Now there are some spots in this, like right here, that look so bad it's not even funny. But tonight at about 6 o'clock, when the sun starts to go down and it's not so intense on these leaves, they'll all just open up again and be what they're supposed to be. Let me get to the other side of this road here. This corn is the same. Okay, so I decided to come back out here. It's a little different. This is a different field. I was in the front field there up on the road. I decided to come back here. And you can see the beans are still in this area. They still have their leaves flipped over or joined together to conserve moisture. They are coming back. They're coming back out of that defensive mode, and now they're laying their leaves flat. These beans are still growing in a fairly phenomenal rate. You could see that they're getting ready to start putting out pods. They're gonna pod up pretty good. We need rain. That's just the long and the short of it. Now, the crazy thing is that we're not looking to get rain here in any rain system. At least that's what they said today, until sometime in August. It is the 13th of July. It was 91 degrees today. There's not a breath of moisture here. It's moist in the air. I'm feeling that. So at night, the beans in the corn are actually pulling moisture out of the air. And that's helping. It really is helping. We've had years where it was so dry that they just never did get that evening moisture. So now I'm going to flip my camera around and I'm going to show you the early stages of death in a soybean field. Okay, so they start to wilt. You know, they start to wilt and they look like this. Are these soybeans dead? Well, no, not yet. They're dropping their lower leaves. They're conserving moisture as best they can. There's just not enough here to really, allow them to come back. They're not going to come back. If we do get rain, those beans will spring back to life. And they will pod up like nobody's business. They will just be full of pods from one end to the other, top to bottom. But you get out here, and if you look at where they're about to my crotch, right? I'm not bending my knees, but they're about to my crotch, which I'm 6 feet tall. And when you have beans that are at your crotch, that's actually pretty good for July 13th. These beans are phenomenal. The problem is that these are wet spots in the field where the beans did not get a decent root system going. And of course, they do that because there's plenty of moisture where they need it. And now they're just hurting. So they are saying that we could possibly have rain on Saturday, which would be great. Saturday into Sunday. You can hear it's pretty crispy critter out here. Yeah, Saturday into Sunday, which would be pretty awesome. It's a 50% chance there rain showers, thunderstorms. But if you look out there, you see how those clouds are kind of going like that? I was looking at my radar, and I'm going to pull this up, because if you look, this is us, where that red and blue is, and that's out at Reading, Pennsylvania. Lancaster, Reading. So if you look, it's actually on a collision course with us. And that's live. That's right now. So if that happens, and we get, say, a half an inch of rain out of that, or a quarter inch, or whatever it is of rain out of that, if it makes it here, they have been dissolving. That one looks like it's actually intensifying, so maybe our prayers are being answered here. I got a lot riding on this year. I don't think, a lot of people understand that aren't in the ag world how much money it takes to grow a row crop. I've got 1,100. So I know my battery is going to be dead here pretty quickly. It's vibrating on me. But we are making hay, or mowing hay. This is on ground that they do not allow you to use herbicide on. and they get a little bit nutty if you do, and there's a few weeds here, but nothing terrible. The best way to deal with weeds in a field of hay that you can't put herbicide on is to actually roll your header back, cut it at about 6 inches. If you can get 6 inches left behind, that actually will, the grass will recover much quicker, and the weeds that are, you know, down there that you cut off don't get a chance to get a foothold again, and it works better. So that's what we do here on these pieces that you can't put herbicide on. And you know, that's a problem with farming in New Jersey. You get some property owners that don't want you to have any type of commercial anything put on their land, and it's like, well, you know, it's like a dog running to the end of its rope, because there's certain things that you have to do, and there's certain, you know, to do a certain thing. And I'm going to be putting compost on this for fertilizer, because obviously they don't want any commercial fertilizers or herbicides, so it's going to be that orgasmic way of doing things, you know. And of course you're not getting paid an organic price for this material, but it's being grown organically, and of course you're going to get a few. What do you suppose 1,100 gallons of water sitting on those lugs is going to do to this brand new asphalt? Not to mention the 20,000 pounds of tractor that is sitting on this brand new asphalt, because they stopped me on the brand new asphalt after letting me go. I can almost bet you that you're going to see me tear this asphalt up when I move. I can almost bet that. Dumb bastards. Sometimes you just gotta wonder. Like, oh yeah, go ahead. And then they put a roller out in the middle of the road to stop us. It's okay if you're on a car that doesn't weigh much, but even this thing in front of me, that thing's gonna be pretty heavy. But literally 9,000 pounds of, you know, 4.5 tons of water, plus the 2 tons of machine. I think you're looking at 6 tons back there. Let's see, we're gonna get some haymaking videos. We're gonna make some haymaking videos. We're gonna make haymaking videos?
No. Yep.
You're not? William will make haymaking videos, won't you?
A booger.
We're making hay. We're making hay. Na 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 na. Yeah, we're making hay.
Booger.
So, this is the deal. I guess I didn't really talk about it, but we didn't put any fertilizer on our hay this year. There's a reason for that. The reason is, it ain't worth it. The mushroom barns don't pay enough to offset the cost of the fertilizer. We're getting $10 a ton more for the material, and that just sealed the deal right then and there that I was not going to put on probably $150 or almost $200 worth of fertilizer to come up with $200 worth of hay. That's about what it boiled down to, right? Yeah. It would have been a wash if I'd have put fertilizer for the mushroom growers. That's what I'm talking about. Now, for the local market, there's knuckleheads down in Delaware Township that are just pounding little bales out like there's a never-ending market for it, and I'm just not interested in dealing with that market. And until I decide what I'm gonna do with good hay, that market is flooded. I just can't deal with selling little bales for the same price I sold them for 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I got $4.75 a bale for good Timothy that was picked up. I never even had to touch it. He'd pick it up, take it to wherever, and a check was always there. And so right now they're selling their hay for $5.50 to $7 a bale. And back then a baler was $16,000, and right now a little baler is something close to $40,000 for the same damn thing. Mower is the same thing. You can get a mower for between $17,000 and $18,000, and now you're looking at $30,000 to $40,000. So it just doesn't make any sense. Oh, and by the way, fertilizer back then, $90 a ton for urea, and like $120 a ton for like 28-13-13. And you know, just everything is so much more expensive now than it was back then. And we did make money back then, but today it just ain't worth it. So what I'm going to be doing, if the weather cooperates, next year I will be converting more acres of hay into corn and soybeans, and the soybean ground that I have this year, all 450 acres of it, will go into wheat. And instead of me baling hay in July, I'll be combining wheat. And I'm not going to bale the straw at all, I don't think. I might bale the straw, I don't know. That's to be determined. This straw is potash. It's potash. It's the fertilizer. I mean, you return it back to the earth. All right, so I'm running through these almost waist-high soybeans again. I got a couple of stalks of corn that I should walk out here and get this corn out of. Went through here with glyphosate about 3 or 4 days ago. 3 or 4 days ago, and noticed that there was we're recording. Do you spy with your little eye my wife in the 7530? I don't know. I do. We're up here in Clinton, New Jersey, and it's kind of one of the hilliest places I've ever done. The camera does it zero justice, but it is definitely one of those things that scare people. This farm scares people. Teresa won't go up on it. My dad will do it, but nobody bails it with me. Timothy will run the stack wagon on it, no problems. But it is a pain in the neck, and I've run the stack wagon down here. I guess I've farmed this thing damn near 10 years. 10 years? Almost 10 years. Not quite. 8 years. I think about 8 years. But anyway, yeah. We're just doing our thing here. Oh my God. It is steeper than it looks. Yes, I'm raking with an 8120. Yeah. Oh, there's my ride out of here. Timothy's going to take over. But yeah, I'm raking with the 8120 because these hills, and you need a big tractor to get on these hills. I don't like little tractors in hills. I mean, I've done this with the 4230, but I just felt today with the little man here sleeping that the 4230 just wasn't going to cut it. And I don't know, it takes forever to get that tractor up here. It only goes like 20 mile an hour, if not 19 mile an hour. They're pretty slow. 18, 19 mile an hour. I don't think they go 20 mile an hour. But anyways, I just didn't feel like driving it for an hour to get up here because it's 20 miles away. Yeah, so the 8120 goes 26.5 mile an hour, and it's comfortable enough to ride when the tires aren't overinflated or inflated for field work. So, you know, like spraying and baling and stuff like that. But that's what we're doing. Tim's gonna take over for me, and of course he's probably got his lunch. He brings a backpack, and he can't pass a buffet, man. He eats too much. I'm worried about him. He's just too big. But anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna shut this off, get in my pickup, go home and get the baler going. So now you get a glimpse into like a couple of days of my life, which is only about 10% of what got done those days. The last 3 or 4 days, that's it. 3 days, I did all sorts of stuff. And there's a lot of things in between there that you didn't see, like equipment maintenance and things like that. I'm very, very busy. As you know, I'm down Down to skeleton crew, and it's a lot of work, but you know what? I'm kind of enjoying it. I don't have to think too hard as to tell people what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Timothy knows his job. He's running truck, and when he gets done running truck, he gets to come back and actually then he'll run a piece of equipment, and then he gets to go home. He's changed his role on the farm to the point where I barely see him. I mean, he gets in the truck, delivers the hay, comes back, does a few things around the farm, and then he goes home. And I'm okay with that. It's just me and my wife and my father are doing the field work, but it's going to take a little bit longer to do the jobs that we need to do to get it done. But that's okay, because you know what? It's less stressful. I don't have to worry about 3 other employees that are, sitting around in the shop not doing what they're supposed to do without instruction. I just hop right to it and do the job that gets done. It just seems just more simple. My wife, she's just top dog. I mean, she gets right into whatever it is that she needs to do, from prepping the baler to getting hay rakes going, and she checks oil, fuels things up. She does everything that she's supposed to do without me prompting her. I do miss some of the other things that happen with employees. I really do. I wish things didn't go the way they did when they went the way they went. Could have been a lot better if some communication was involved, but that's okay. That's not on me, and we just live, learn, and adjust and overcome the issues that were handed to me, and they're not really issues at all. I'm quite happy doing this the way we're doing it. Could use a little bit of rain, though. So if anybody's out there and you're right here in my lovely spot, you could pray for rain, even though I'm not much of a praying man. Teresa's trying to make me a praying man, but I just don't see. I don't know. It is what it is. We'll see. Maybe if I got down on my knees and prayed to God that it was going to rain, maybe it would happen. But I'm pretty sure the weatherman's saying Sunday, and we'll go on the weatherman, even though he's an asshole and lies 90% of the time. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and there's more to come in a couple of days, because I'm not doing this every day anymore, for the simple fact I just don't have the time to do it.